Welcome to Courtney on Health, brought to you on malcolmpresents.com, a streaming portal into the wonderful world of Zoomcasting, and all shows are on demand and archived. Good morning, guys.
Good
Hey,
morning, good afternoon.
um,
Happy New Year.
Happy New
Happy New
Year.
Year. Yeah,
And
I just it's pretty cool because I had to turn it on for 5 minutes because I've been watching it since I'm a kid. The Rose Parade in Pasadena,
yeah,
the floats, I mean, the work it's just I mean, it's incredible. That's all I can say.
well,
How they
I think I tell you the story the day
right,
after the parade.
I
They,
know I don't know if we have time for that story, but yeah.
okay, forget about the story. Okay, do the introduction. We'll do it another show.
Sorry, that's my fault. So, well, it is New Year's and the Rose Parade was on. And Malcolm did have an experience there. We'll have to talk about it in a
I'm
different
still getting
show.
over a hangover, so
Okay.
I'll let
So
you two
with
guys
with
speak.
that, we do need this topic because I think we need the dry January. And so hello again to Courtney and Malcolm, and welcome to Courtney on Health, a Zoomcast podcast series which focuses on one's overall well-being with tips on nutrition and exercise given by Courtney Gravenese, registered dietitian with a master's of science degree in nutrition and applied physiology. Courtney's an experienced nutritional and health consultant in the New York metro area. It probably goes all the way up to Pasadena today and beyond, and will help guide you on a path of to wellness and health. So as we're saying, we're kind of coming down from all of this, right? We've been in holiday mode for months actually.
Yeah,
We drank, we ate, we partied, and kind of now it's time to reset the clock and get back to healthy routines to maintain a proper life balance. Resolutions aside, we've got a lot of living to do, and we want to get through this
indeed.
year and have be healthy and happy. So the spiked eggnog is kind of in the rearview mirror now, and it is a good time to reevaluate our habits and perhaps think of going dry for January. With that, there's no bourbon, no scotch, no beer. Sorry, Mr. Thorogood. Remember that was one of I love that song. I've always loved it. But maybe we can get back on track by reducing our liquor intake and going dry. So Courtney will explain and give more info on the practice and the origin of dry January.
Plain
So
woman.
yeah,
Yeah.
so what is dry January?
Well, I have to be honest. Have you guys, I mean, prior to, maybe the last year, had you all ever heard of dry January before?
I had
Um,
heard about it mostly from like comedians or
Of course.
late night
Yeah.
hosts of Colbert said, yeah, dry January was great to me until the 3rd. It was like, so something like that. So yeah, it seems to be more in publications now, and there's more articles about it. So yeah, so explain.
Yeah, sure. So I had not, I asked because I, prior to like, I'd say maybe a year or two ago, I had never heard of it before. And I was actually surprised to learn that the initiative comes out of the United Kingdom in an effort to help people, and it's a variety of different goals, right? It's not just for health reasons to cut back on alcohol intake, it's budgetary, it's commitment to being able to follow through on a specific goal. So it was started many years ago, and last statistics I've seen, 2022 statistics for the United States alone show that about 35%, up from about 22% of Americans, 35% of Americans are at least attempting. They may stop by January 3rd, but they're
Right.
attempting dry January. And what I'm learning a little bit more about it is, we're adapting it a little bit to be maybe dry-ish January. And I'll talk about, what that means. So I'm not going to
Dry-ish. Okay.
dry-ish.
Okay.
So whether or not, our audience members, want to try this or not, that's totally up to, it's a very personal decision. But for those people who are trying to go dry for the month of January or any spotted month throughout the year, I thought I'd offer up some sound advice depending on which goal you're trying to achieve. Because again, we all have different reasons why we're doing it.
Right.
So, as mentioned, it's meant to, for the month of January, for 31 days, to be, and we mentioned this, sort of, sort of being more sober aware, being more aware of the alcohol intake in our beverages. So that could be anything from, beers to wines. Then no doubt, starting from the first of the month, starting from yesterday through the month of January, we are going to be inundated on social media with companies that have their version of a dry January libation. So no doubt about that. So what I have in front of me here is just a mix of different cocktails that are available out there. So on this side over here is really just completely, they're called, these are just basically mixers or things that have, no alcohol to them whatsoever, different from zero proof. And we'll talk about those in a second. So these are, alcohol-free beers, which some are truly 0% alcohol. Many of them, however, are 0.5% alcohol. So by standards, it is considered alcohol-free. But if you're really looking at it, it does have a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of alcohol in it. You guys probably saw this on New Year's Eve. It's usually on every table, in addition to regular, champagne and Prosecco's. It's just sparkling ciders that are available. Again, let's talk about just the alcohol component of it, and then we'll talk about sort of the health benefits of it. Most people, if they're going to have a distilled spirit, are going to mix it perhaps with some type of, mixer. These happen to be a great line of I'd say a better line of mixers. This is the Fever Tree brand that happened to, it's tonic water, but it has a very less sweet, much more refreshing flavor to them than, let's say, traditional mixers that might be available. Why this might be helpful for folks is that if they're really trying to drop the gin or drop the vodka in their vodka tonic or gin and tonic, Maxine is shaking her head. No, thank you.
Gin and tonic. I see. Yeah, well, I don't drink, but my drink of choice at a wedding or bar mitzvah generally is Tanqueray and tonic. So when you said the gin is more refreshing, I'd be interested in that just in and of itself.
Yeah, it really it has a nice flavor to it. So it's all about shifting habit, right? I mean, we've done enough of these segments. Whenever you're trying to change your behavior, sometimes it's just a matter of, well, maybe your routine is coming home from work and you pour yourself a cocktail. Maybe it's a gin and tonic. Well, maybe you'll be okay if you're going to try dry January with just the tonic and a nice fresh squeeze of lime, because the flavor of the tonic is good enough. Again, these are just options for people who are trying to attempt this to make it a little bit easier of a climb up that hill. But there is a difference in the flavor. So you might find that at least perhaps for that month that you're trying to go dry, shifting to a maybe more of a premium mixer and then just doing the mixer alone may make the difference for you. So again, just putting that out there as an option if this is something that you are trying to do. Some folks just like, maybe just plain fizzy water, club soda, seltzer with a splash of 100% juice in it. Some of the better juices, better options would be things like cranberry juice. This is tart cherry juice, which we've spoken about. This is a natural source of melatonin. Now the amount in a mixed drink with cranberry juice, with the cherry juice in it is really not enough to help trigger melatonin to sleep. It does make it more of somewhat of a festive type of drink to have that would be alcohol free. So again, and of course I have lemons and limes here and oranges. If your habit, again, is to come home and have a cocktail, you might find that just brightening up your seltzer or your club soda with a squeeze of fresh citrus in a nice, interesting, fun glass might be enough to help, to help with dry January. Maybe, again, not for some folks, but maybe for others. The other side would be, so we mentioned that in our last episode before we broke for the holiday season, we talked about the zero proof and then the low ABF. So zero proof spirits start the same way. The distillation process is the same as it is for regular, rum, vodka, gin, etc., except it is redistilled after that initial process to remove the alcohol from it. So it starts in the same way, but the end product obviously is going to be alcohol free. So I can't say I've tried any of these zero proof beverages yet. I don't know if you guys have tried them, but
No,
they're an
I've heard of
option.
them, but I haven't,
Yeah.
done it.
They're, you know, they're certainly out there from if your goal is to do this to save some money, because let's face it, wine, beer, spirits can be costly. There's certainly less money than the traditional version, but they're not inexpensive. I'll just say that. So be mindful of that if you're going to go that route. Because you're going to save some money, but you're not going to save as much as you think, because they're not there. There's a price tag attached to that that process to make them zero proof.
Yeah, but then you could also make your own mocktails.
Of course,
right?
yes,
You know,
yeah.
they're definitely, you can go online and find anything. I mean, I was delving through this morning and it was a margarita recipe, you know, that had the lime and the orange juice and agave and ice cubes, and maybe get these funky ice cubes. They have now ice cubes like it's a whole ball, you know, and you throw, I mean, because there might be fun things to try to, you know, hey, this is fun, you know, we're drinking this is
Absolutely.
you know,
And the
stuff like,
reality is, if you're trying to actually do this and you're taking out you know, and you enjoy the alcohol, and then you take out the fun along with it, well, gosh, I mean, that's brutal.
yeah,
That's
it.
that's 31 days of boo. I mean, that's not fun at all.
Right, exactly. So you try to you put in your brain like, hey, let's, you know, just have this dry January, but maybe make it fun and try different, you know, iterations of cocktails.
Absolutely,
I'm
absolutely. So there are, you know, like I said, there are options for them because it's zero proof. You can find it maybe not in all grocery stores, but you're going to be able to find them in perhaps a smaller market, or a market that has a large beverage section to it. Again, each state, and this is even within the United States, has their rules regarding what can be sold where, right? So beer can be sold one spot, alcohol, and so forth. So, but because there's no alcohol in it, it should be available in a large beverage section, or you know, a smaller market. So keep that in mind if you're trying to experiment with those.
Yeah, New York has, you cannot buy liquor in the supermarkets, but New Jersey you can now.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, just go across the line, you know, do all your shopping in one place.
Right, that's what blew my mind when I moved from New York to California.
And that was
in New York, you only could buy alcohol in a liquor store.
Right.
In California, I would go over to Ralph's and they would have all the wine and beer and alcohol.
And Ralph's is a regular grocery store, or is that
Ralph's is a major store?
It's a major supermarket chain.
It's Kroger.
It's, you know, where else can you go to a store named Ralph's but California? Just, you know, you're in Beverly Hills, we're going to Ralph's, you know. It's like,
actually, that's his last name, Ralph. I forgot his first name now. It was like George Ralph.
Oh gosh.
Could have been Ralph, but anyway.
Yeah, I'm starting my own store. I'm starting my own grocery called Malcolm's.
Oh, okay.
And promote Malcolm Presents, you know.
And that's right. Yeah, you got to get it somewhere, huh? What were we saying, Courtney?
So I was saying, particularly in a grocery store like that, where everything is available, certainly in the month of January, where I think there is a little bit more of a push and there is some encouragement to maybe give Dry January a stab. This would certainly be the month to try some of these zero proof beverages. A little bit different than, let's talk a little bit about the quote unquote elixirs and adaptogens that are out there. And again, you'll probably see these promoted on social media quite a bit. I don't watch a ton of television, so I can't say I've seen anything for a regular commercial, but it's all over social media. And what these are basically is, you know, any fruit or botanical that is converted into, it's not meant to be alcoholic or an alcohol-free product. It's really meant to be a juice of sorts that is meant to replace a cocktail entirely. So it's not meant to be mixed with a zero proof liquor or beverage. It's not meant to, necessarily be in line with these completely alcohol-free, options here, but it is on the sweeter side, and they usually have, again, a botanical bend to it. So maybe it's infused with rosemary or different herbs or different spices. Now, I can't speak to some of the claims that are being made about these adaptogens or elixirs, and it could be anything from helps with sleep, it's an anti-anxiety cocktail. I can't speak to any of that because quite frankly, there's just not enough data right now to suggest that there's actually any health benefit to them, but it's certainly not going to be harmful, unless, of course, you're doing this. Again, it all comes down to those goals. If you're doing this to watch your caloric intake, and the only thing I would suggest you do, if that's one of the reasons why you're trying to sort of kick the booze habit for January, is to really read those labels carefully. Now, because it's a beverage, it has to have a nutrition fact label on it, and it will tell you the ingredients. So you will know if the first ingredient is sugar or not. And then B, it will tell you the caloric load per 2 ounce, 4 ounce, 8 ounce, etc. So do pay attention to that number, because if this is really going to replace what, your intake, and you're having 2 or 3 of these elixirs a night, you could be looking at 600, 800, and in some cases up to 1,000 calories just from these beverages. So again, it's an absolute option. I like people to have choices. But again, if one of your goals for doing this is to cut back on the calories, be mindful that you're not getting much of a caloric break, particularly with some of these adaptogens and elixirs that are out there.
Right. It's drink size, and you can drink something that's a small thing,
Right.
but then you could fill up like 16 ounces and
Right.
then it's just, oh man, it's just way over what you should be drinking. I think I've seen some of these things. They look like they're in wine type bottles, I think, these elixir things. And I have yet to even try one, but it did seem like something, I would maybe purchase. Maybe in the new year I'll check one out and see what it's all about. Sounds
well, Max, maybe we'll buy a bottle, and maybe we'll have our own little sip and stroll and test it.
I'm there, baby.
See?
You want to meet in the middle? You want to meet here? You want to meet at your house? Hey, we're as our friend Shane always says, hello, Luddies. We're Luddies. It's so funny. But yeah, we'll have to try it. Yes, I'll be happy to try it out with you.
Yeah, so again, there's just lots of options. I have not purchased one yet, but I don't know the price of them. But from a price point perspective, they will be, again, certainly less money than an alcoholic beverage like a wine. But don't be surprised if it's more money than a sort of mid-level beer. So again, depending on your goal, if it's finances that you're looking at trying to save money, just be aware of what you're buying. So we spoke about our zero proof. We spoke about some of our adaptogens and the elixirs. The other thing we spoke about our last segment was this whole line, and these are not necessarily new in the last few months, the whole line of low alcohol by volume, low ABF beverages that are out there. So one of the more popular ones, I don't know if you guys can see this, and this just happens to be one brand, but there's a whole line of them. It's the spiked seltzers.
Right.
So again, these are an option. So it's less alcohol. So these, just to give you an idea, I mean, wine usually would be at about, it could vary greatly, but wines could be 12 to 15% alcohol. Distilled spirits can be anywhere from, in the 40s straight up to, up to 60. So and much higher than that. These lines are usually hover around anywhere between 3.5% alcohol up to about 5% alcohol. So it's not nothing. The problem with that, it's definitely less alcohol than a wine or a distilled, hard liquor or distilled beverage, but they go down so easily.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
very light in flavor, that one of the potential issues with it is that you can drink a lot of them, and then suddenly it doesn't matter that it only had 5% per each can. You've had 6 cans, and the end result could be the same. So
This is what happens on college campuses, by the way. This is a very, very popular thing. They get these, seltzer drinks with alcohol and okie doke.
Yeah. So to give you an idea, it's no, I've got, this is a light beer, and actually the light beer has less, and you wouldn't think that necessarily unless you really know the differences, but the light beer actually has less alcohol per serving than the seltzer, the spiked seltzer did. So just, again, know what you're reading. If, again, depending on your goal, what you're trying to do, your reasoning for it, they do go down very nicely because they are so light, but it's not like it's 2% alcohol. It can be up to 5%, even a little bit higher. So know what you're drinking with regard to that. So an option without having to buy anything special, without having to spend a whole lot of money. We talked about just taking regular old seltzer and club soda and just zhuzhing it up a little bit with a splash of your favorite, fruit juice that you might like, 100% fruit juice. I would say, once again, try some of those that have got a little bit more bang for their buck, like a little bit more vitamin C to them, or that beautiful red color, purple color to them, to get that anthocyanin, which is that very potent antioxidant in it. So that's certainly an option. Another option, of course, is, and Max, you just talked about this, like, if you want to go dry-ish, right? We mentioned being not necessarily dry, but dry-ish. One option might be, okay, maybe you're not going to just drink as much. I mean, there's a glass of wine, right? And then there's a glass of wine. So maybe your effort for dry January is simply to make the shift from, a 6-ounce pour down to a 2 or 3-ounce pour. And that's okay too, right? There really are no rules for this, particularly if you're just trying to do this for, again, money or health reasons. This can be a simple shift also. Or maybe you're going to say to yourself, I can't, or I don't really want to because I enjoy what I do. Maybe I'll go booze free between, Sunday night and Friday night, and then my weekends are mine to do what I want. So that's an option as well. So scaling back is an option. Go ahead, Max.
Yeah, just in terms of doing, drinking, not drinking, and what positive health effects that would have for you. I mean, can you name some, how it'll make, I would imagine you stop drinking, you'll feel better in different ways. And, maybe better sleep, maybe, there's a lot of things that can, help you health-wise as well. Can you give us any info on that?
Sure,
Just a little non-professional thing. I know when I drink, I don't realize when I wake up if I feel bad or don't have the energy. But I notice when I stop drinking for 2 days, I have more energy when I wake up. I'm not as I don't know if the word is cloudy, but I'm more clear-headed when I wake up, when I don't drink. But I don't realize it when I am drinking.
Right. Well, so you bring both really good points, and they really speak to one another. So just sort of a step back. So if you think alcohol, any alcohol is in the class of depressants. That's the drug class that it's in. So despite what some people feeling like, I'm going to have a drink, I'm going to get, I'm going to be energized while I'm having it, it actually has ultimately the opposite result. The problem is, and we've got lots of research to support this, when you drink to excess, and I'm not talking about, maybe one drink with dinner, drink to excess, it has very powerful impact on your sleep cycles. So when we did our sleep segment many, many months ago, there are certain things that can interrupt your flowing through your sleep cycles throughout the night. Alcohol intake is absolutely one of those. So Malcolm, that makes perfect sense. So you may be feeling like you're getting the number of hours of sleep throughout the night, but it's disrupted sleep. You're not moving fluidly through those stages of sleep. You're hopping around from one to the other, and that is leads to that grogginess, that fuzziness that you might be feeling in the morning. So Maxine, yeah, we know that pulling back or completely avoiding it certainly leads to, or can lead to, better sleep quality. We know that it can help improve blood pressure levels, meaning that it can help reduce blood pressure and then resting heart rate. So from a cardiovascular perspective, any break your heart can get from that constant barrage of, high an elevation in blood pressure or heart rate is a move in the right direction. So absolutely, with regard to those, again, pulling just calories aside, many people find simply by pulling, eliminating the alcohol, they're eliminating hundreds of calories a day, which could be thwarting their efforts to lose weight, certainly. So that's something to absolutely take a look at. And that's just the alcohol calories. You mentioned before, Maxine, a lot of times people mix their drinks. Well, there's the alcohol calories, and then of course there's the calorie load from whatever it is you're putting in that glass along with the alcohol.
Aside from the calories of alcohol, well, for me personally, when I drink, I know I develop a sweet tooth that is not as controllable. Normally, if I'm not drinking, I can, maybe I can push away the dessert and say, okay, that's, that's fattening. But when I drink, I have the sugar urge.
Right.
That
Well,
it's much for me.
Yeah, a different effect on everybody. And I'd be remiss, Maxine, without mentioning what we know about alcohol intake and breast cancer risk. In fact, many studies suggest that the impact of excessive alcohol is actually far, it's worse for women than it is for men. That's not to say that men don't have negative health implications from drinking too much, but women may have more. In particular, the very strong correlation between excessive alcohol intake and breast cancer risk. And then for both men and for women, and maybe it's not so obvious, the impact on liver health. Remember, your liver is your filter. It's your number one filter, and your liver works overtime when it's getting bombarded with a lot of alcohol. So no, those are the known risk factors that we are aware of.
Right. They're everything is a balance. Having a cocktail on occasion, but when you're in a different level and you're just drinking more, and then you decide, okay, it's the new year, I'm gonna try this dry January. I read it somewhere. Let me see. Maybe, and also if you put it out there, because I was looking at some information on it, to your friends and family that you're doing this, and get encouragement, so it all works together. It all, gets you to possibly a place where you want to be and should be. Right. And put you on a better path, right, to better health.
Absolutely. And I know we're probably out of time, but it's really worth finishing this segment on it because it's important. We're being funny, and these can be fun cocktails for things, but the reality is, if you're trying this and you're trying it for a variety of different reasons, and you are finding that you are unable to make it through any amount of time without any alcohol intake, it is really very important to seek out assistance and help, because you may be struggling with something that's far greater than just a phase for a month, and it's really important to get that help. But the other thing I want to mention is, and this is very important, if you are already struggling with alcohol addiction, or you believe you have an issue with alcohol use, these zero proof beverages that I mentioned are really not recommended for you because of their ability to perhaps trigger a binge. So again, some of these options we're talking about are if you just want to try it, but I really want to make sure that message gets out there, because I don't want to lessen how important it is to seek help if you feel like you're struggling with alcohol issues.
Yeah, well, I think we discussed it in a previous show. What I find now when I'm looking at the movies or television, that a lot of social events circle or around alcohol. You go to a bar to have drinks, to meet friends. You go to someone's house, they offer you a glass of wine. It seems like everything is revolving around alcohol. Like in the old days, before it was frowned upon, everybody smoked. Look at old movies.
Yeah.
And everybody has either a drink in their hand and a cigarette in their hand. and the smoking every place. And today, the new movies, especially among the college kids and those younger couples, they're all drinking,
Right.
and
Well,
that's a way of having fun.
I sure hope that cashews stay okay, because if you're coming to my house, you're getting cashews. That's-
Well,
I had to add some levity into this. I'm sorry.
but like what I find difficult is you're talking about nuts, and you talk about you can have the healthy the nuts, but you can have 8 or 9 or 10.
Right.
I don't know how you can have 10 cashews because I grab a hand during the holidays. I grab a handful of them.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I have to watch myself sometimes too. But but in terms of, just trying to get out of the alcohol, situation, is you gotta do what you feel,
Yeah,
and then work within, what's your comfort, and work within your family and friends. If you're, as Courtney said, if you might need to get some help, you might something more than just the casual. So yeah.
yeah,
So this is, but it's interesting to know what they're putting out there.
absolutely.
They're working to try to balance I don't know, the alcohol industry is way trillions of dollars, but these little companies now are trying to bring these things to market so that
Yeah,
you have an
yeah,
option. So that's
absolutely. It's all about options. Yeah, it definitely is.
Anyway,
And
guys, as you know, we've reached the end of our 30 minutes.
that's it. Yep.
Oh, we should have that little clock like at 16 minutes. If you put it there, and then, well, hey, we did that the other night for New Year's, except, but it's the end of the show, so I will do the outro, guys, unless anyone has anything else to say.
And it's just everybody have a happy, healthy new year,
Right.
See
as
you
we
as
said
well.
before. But
We'll have I'm looking for a saner New Year too. That seems to be something I need to see in the world,
Good
but
theme.
we'll find out. Yes, sanity in 23. I don't know. Uh, so thanks for joining us for Courtney on Health. To get more info, follow Courtney on her Facebook page, which is Courtney on Health, on Instagram at CLG Wellness, which is also TikTok handle, I'm sure. Visit our website, CourtneyGravenese.com. For more shows, go to malcolmpresents.com and theManyShadesOfGreen.com. This is Courtney on Health, smart, sound nutrition, strong, safe fitness. We'll catch you again next time.
See you next time. Have a great week.
Have a
bye.
nice week.